About 9:00 p.m., all the lights turned dim, the TV turns off, and I thought my kids were playing a trick on me because they lived up in the room behind me up on the second floor. And I look up and there's nobody there. When I turn around, there were these two beings right there.
Billy Carson shares his traumatic alien confrontation story, and I think this points to a major problem with aliens. He had this alien encounter, but it made him dislike Christianity even more because it fed him lies and deception. So we're going to be reacting to it, and I think it proves more and more that these aliens are actually demons, actually demonic entities. So let's get into it. This is fascinating stuff.
So you think you saw an alien spaceship?
Yeah, because back then I don't believe we had the technology to create a ARV, an alien reproduction vehicle. I think what I saw was probably a real UFO.
Wow. Are you the first black guy to see a UFO?
No, I'm not the first black guy. I'm just one of the, I'm not one of the first, because I know there was Benny and Barney Hill. Barney Hill was a black guy who came out, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, about his abduction situation with him and his wife. And him and his wife were abducted, and they gave an account of what these beings showed them as where they came from. And nobody knew where the Zeta Reticuli star system was at that time. It didn't exist in our star maps. Later on, it came out. A person says, wait a minute, and they put it together and said, this is Zeta Reticuli. We found this star system now. Now we know where they say they were from. Pretty interesting.
Wait, hold on. So this couple described a star system that they could have no prior knowledge of?
Correct.
Meaning they couldn't have gone to school and learned about this or read about this anywhere.
Right, exactly.
Later on, we find this star system.
Yeah.
And then who connects the dots?
An astrophysicist or astronomer connects the dots and says, wait a minute, this is Zeta Reticuli.
Okay, so you see this thing. And again, we don't know. It could be advanced technology that we have that you saw.
It could be. Right. Science is full of uncertainty, which I learned from Professor James Gates yesterday when I talked to him about supersymmetry and stuff in an interview I did with him just yesterday. And that uncertainty is always there. You can never say anything for 100% certainty. And so because of that, there is always a possibility that it's something else.
I had dinner with...
So here's the thing. Just because these things show you a map of something in outer space does not mean that it's an alien, though. It could mean that this is a supernatural entity that knows a lot of things and has been around for a long time.
Okay.
And my takeaway from the dinner with Bob was going on Rogan, and Rogan asked me if I wanted to come to dinner. So we went to Fogo de Chao.
Wow.
As you do. And Bob was there, and Jeremy Corbell was there as well.
Yeah.
And I believed Bob believed what he saw. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not advanced technology that we have, that we've created. But I do believe that he was working on something, and he believed it was alien spacecraft. So I believe that he was being honest.
I could tell you why I believe his story, at least some of it, is because he talked about element 115 before we even discovered element 115.
Yeah.
We're talking about 25 years span in between.
That's why the star system thing is quite interesting to me. So if you are describing things that have not been discovered yet, and then they do become discovered,
exactly,
it adds some credibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so with your situation, you believe you saw a UFO.
Yeah.
Do you think that the UFO people, the aliens or whoever they are, do you think they choose the people that see them, or this is happenstance?
If you start researching these alien abduction experiences or these alien sighting experiences, which there are now over 7 million of them documented in MUFON, you start to see a similarity between the stories and repetitiveness with some of the visitations or sightings or whatever you want to call them. And so it's quite possible that they isolate and interact with specific people at specific times. I mean, to what agenda? At the end of the day, we're like ants.
Did you have any communication at all?
I would say it's because you're more vulnerable and you've probably been messing with something that you shouldn't have been messing with, which is the demonic realm.
Did you feel anything in the moment?
I felt nothing in that moment. I had a second experience in 2010, which is well documented. I've talked about it. It took years to come out about it because I basically lost my whole family over this.
No way.
Yeah.
You came out of the closet? No,
Diddy.
No.
But yeah,
tell me, what happened?
So 2010, I came home. I was working on this big project called Fort Terra Nova, which I built. And Fort Terra Nova, it was on the History Channel, a Countdown to Apocalypse, the Nostradamus episode. And anyway, so I was working on this project. I come home, I'm looking at ESPN, and I'm looking at sports. About 9 o'clock p.m. All the lights turn dim, the TV turns off, and I thought my kids were playing a trick on me because they lived up in the room behind me, up on the second floor. And I look up, and there's nobody there. When I turn around, there were these two beings right there.
Get the out of here.
Yeah. And,
whoa.
Sorry.
No.
What do you have, big freak?
Wow, that's crazy. That's why I really think this is a demonic encounter. Guys, aliens cannot, if they're literal physical beings, they still can't defy the laws of gravity. They can't do that unless they're spiritual. It's totally different.
No.
So they were right there. I'm sitting in a chair about this high, so they were right here in my eyes. And
Alex is freaking out right now. What the fuck? This is wild. Okay.
All right, let me get myself together.
No, take your time.
So they were there. They had the big almond eyes like you see on TV. I swear they did.
So you have two beings in front of you.
But they didn't look like they were real eyes. They looked like coverings of some type. And they didn't communicate with me through any kind of telepathy that I can tell, but I felt like my brain was shaking in my skull to the point where it started hurting, and I started screaming, but no sound was coming out of my throat. I can feel the air coming out, but I couldn't hear it myself.
And you were awake during this period? You weren't taking a nap or anything like that?
Taking a nap, no psychedelics.
Of course, yeah.
And my whole house, everyone was in. My wife at the time, my ex-wife was in the bedroom right behind the next wall. My girls were in that side of the house, a split floor plan. My boys were in that side of the house. The house was full of people. Nobody heard us or anything. I was screaming. A few seconds later, it stops. And they turn around and they don't walk like a person. They kind of dangle. So they kind of dangled away and they went right through the wall. And then, boom, the TV comes back. The lights come back to normal color. And that's when I went running around the house. And it was just traumatic for everybody, you know? And
that's crazy. That just points back to what I'm saying. These are spiritual beings that are trying to get you to completely defy against God. Why is it that every time these people have alien abductions, alien experiences, always experience something, and why do these aliens always try to convey something bad about Christianity, something bad about Jesus? They never talk about Islam. They never talk about Buddha or whatever. They always try to discredit the God of the Bible. Why is that? Tell me. I want to know.
The straw that broke the camel's back. There was other reasons why, but I ended up my one son, Giovanni, he's told me I'm scared to even come around you. And still to this day, he rarely ever calls me or comes around. It's kind of like I lost my son. I made no money off of this. I got no exposure off of this. That's why I kept it quiet for so long. Lost my family, created a lot of dissension. I remember we were on a highway one day and my wife was driving at the time, my ex-wife, and she slammed on the brakes and it was like, just get out of the car, because the kids were scared. And I was like, I'm sticking to my story. I'm not changing my story because this really happened to me. And they just didn't want to hear it. But her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses. So everything was of the devil, And so it was a pretty traumatic experience. It took a long time to talk about it. The only reason why I came out with that information was because I started running into a lot of people at conferences that would come up to me and tell me that they were having these experiences. They were horrified to talk about them. So I felt like if I would talk about it, I would give them strength for them to have expressed themselves and walk in their truth and believe in their experience that they had.
Okay, so when you started telling this story just right now, I want to point something out.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm skeptical about everything. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
I could believe there was one physical sensation that I saw in you that kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie. Crying, people can put that on.
True.
You started to perspire.
Yeah. I know.
That, to me, I don't know. I know that actors can induce crying. I don't know if they can induce sweat. so to me, the tears are less of an example. I mean, your whole forehead just...
Dang. That's because I believe that it was a real experience coming to persuade him to leave his Christianity roots, coming to persuade him that to do the devil's work and to why in the world did all of a sudden he's like, yeah, Jesus never died. Jesus had a girlfriend. The Bible doesn't say that Jesus never died. The Bible says that Jesus never died. All that stuff against Christianity. That's the major flaw.
Sweat. So maybe that is the traumatic experience of the loss of your family, and that is evoking that reaction. But okay.
Were the beings, do they have like clothes on? Was there anything else discernible about them?
Yeah, they didn't really have on what looked like clothes to me. They weren't really gray. They were almost like brownish, but they had very big eyes, 2 little tiny dots for a nose, a slit for a mouth. They never opened the mouth. They never opened. They never moved at all. They didn't even shake. There was no facial movements. I couldn't discern if they were even real or not real, or, in terms of like being something that was flesh. But their hands were very long and dangly like you see on TV, I swear to you. And I was just like...
That's why there are demons, demons, demons. It really seems like if you're opening yourself up to these things, you will be more vulnerable to be deceived from the enemy. That's what I think.
Completely shocked. Now, 2 things happened to me after this situation. The first thing was, of course, I scared the hell out of everybody. The second thing was, I kept hearing this voice in my head over and over again, worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope, over and over and over. So finally, the next day I got so tired of this, I couldn't stop this noise, this phrase.
What was the sound of the voice? What was the...
It sounded like my voice.
It's your own voice.
My own voice.
Echoing worldwide telescope.
Over and over and over again. So I go to my computer. Back then, Google wasn't a big name yet. It was excite.com. So I get on excite.com. I type in worldwide telescope, but you can type it in on Google now. First thing popped up was worldwidetelescope.org, and I almost fell out of my chair. Worldwidetelescope.org is a site where all the space probe data from all the missions into space exists based on taxpayer and research data. So you can download this. Back then you had to download it. You couldn't just web. You didn't have www4 or whatever they call it now. But now you can just run it from the app, from the browser. But back then you had to install it. You can still install it if you want. I go in there. I go in and I go, okay, what is this? And I see Moon, Mars, all these other planets and so forth and star systems. I click on Mars. I click on Mars. Then I see panoramas pop up. I go, oh, panorama. I click on panoramas. The next thing I know, I see the names of panoramas. So I click on McMurdo Valley. I go into McMurdo Valley, and I start seeing things that don't belong.
What's a panorama?
It's like
just an image?
A wide image,
okay,
but it's not just a regular image. It's an image that allows you to zoom in, zoom out, pan left and right from the rover's perspective.
So you're looking at images that have been taken from spacecraft.
From the Mars rovers.
The Mars rovers.
Yeah.
Of Mars.
Spirit rover and Opportunity rover.
But they are of Mars, or they're of...
They're of Mars, on Mars.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. Spirit rover is no longer operating because one of the last images it transmitted looked really strange. And I think they just blew it up or something. they never turned it back on after that one. But these things that I saw on the surface between the presidential panorama and also McMurdo Valley, they didn't look like they belonged on Mars. They looked like broken down structures from the Middle East. And I was like, what the hell is this? And the more I looked, the more of these anomalies I kept seeing. So it led me down a whole rabbit hole into anomaly hunting. That anomaly hunting got me into researching these ancient civilizations. That's how it happened. That's literally how it happened. So because of that experience, I became an expert in ancient civilizations. Literally. That's how I got into it.
And do you feel...
Because that he became an expert of ancient civilizations. That's crazy. I wouldn't say an expert.
Is this an example of the...
Yeah, that's the Spirit rover right there on the upper left. And there's a lot of anomalies. We've documented so many crazy anomalies over the years. And I can send you some if you want to pop them in there. Just some crazy stuff that made CNN, that made CNBC, Fox News. A lot of our stuff has been featured in the news. We've downloaded over 1 million of these panoramas from the space agencies, and we've now documented over 60,000 anomalies. Things that don't belong there. Everything from pyramids to ankhs.
Yeah, what is the craziest image that you have documented?
The craziest image I would have to say would be this object that looks like, I gotta say looks like, because we're not there, looks like an airplane. Another
what? And he's saying that there's pyramids on Mars too?
be this statue on the side of Victoria Crater. And I can pull these up and give them to you. Another one would be these ankhs. We found several ankhs laying around in the sand.
What's an ankh?
The Egyptian ankh. The cross with the loop on top.
Oh.
Yeah. What are those doing up there? And some, yeah. I'm just saying.
That's a good point.
What's that doing there?
What? I can't. What's that? That's not a UFO in this NASA Mars rover image. Here's what. Oh my goodness. What is that? It says bizarre Mars photo, signs of life or signs that internet has lost its mind. That's crazy. Look at this picture. What is going on there? It's like some human or something. Some alien. Whoa! Strange cylinder spotted on Mars rover. No way. What is this? Right there. That's crazy. Well, that is all so fascinating. That is for sure.
But that's a good question.
Crazy.
So, okay. I don't want to lean too much into this, but I would be remiss if I did not ask you.
Yeah.
It must be, I would imagine, if I was someone in your shoes and
That's Victoria Crater, by the way.
Man, get out of here.
No, that's real. You can pull it up. Anybody can pull these up. That's what I love about these. I always give the source link so anyone can pull them up. Any person.
Now, obviously, that's been colorized to make it more visible.
To make it pop out, yeah. There it goes, uncolorized.
But even uncolorized, it's still just a little bit crazy.
It's there. And there's even more on that crater, but it's to the left, that's not a good, it's not a wide panoramic shot, but there's more.
Yeah.
A lot more there.
Okay, so again, I would be remiss not to ask this. You have a sighting with a UFO, then you have an interaction with beings, and then you have a message to go look up these images.
Yeah.
I would imagine someone in your shoes, it would be very difficult to not follow this, I don't even want to say line of thinking, but follow this they've almost like edged you in a direction.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult to not run down that hallway. True. So I would imagine it'd be hard for a person in your shoes after having these experiences to not think, hey, they want me to go look into this stuff. Is that kind of what you feel?
That's a fact. Now, what I've done is to try to combat the nudging that's happened. I always keep digging into the science. So I've talked to geologists, I talked to scientists, I talked to engineers, I talked to homegrown guides, archaeologists, indigenous people from all around the world. I keep digging and trying to debunk my own theories.
Got it.
And the deeper I dig to debunk, the less I debunk.
Because you've heard these stories. Listen.
Man, oh man, do not be deceived. I encourage you guys to be aware of false prophets, and I believe that he had those experiences, but I would say that it had to be from some demonic entity, just like Muhammad had an encounter. These things are always turning people away from God, giving people different visions, different ideas to disrupt the kingdom of God. So yeah, I would love to know what you guys think in the comments below. What is going on with Billy Carson? Also fascinating. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day, and God bless.